Play this clip if this is the right one. I think it's the right one.
Okay, hang on.
This is a stupid person.
Is it what?
This is Sotomayor is dumb. I don't care if anybody says she's good legal. She's mentally unintelligent. Listen to this.
Cannot eliminate the risk of detransitioner. So it becomes a pure exercise of weighing benefits versus risk. And the question of how many minors have to have their bodies irreparably harmed for unproven benefits is one that is best left.
I'm sorry, Counselor. Every medical treatment has a risk. Even taking aspirin, there is always going to be a percentage of the population under any medical treatment that's going to suffer a harm.
Yeah, that's
so the question in my mind is not, do policymakers decide whether one person's life is more valuable than the millions of others who get relief from this treatment? The question is, can you stop one sex from the other?
One cannot eliminate the risk.
First of all, appreciate the sound of her voice drives me crazy. It's slobbish, intellectual,
the NPR vibe.
No, and she thinks by talking slowly, it somehow makes it smart. Chopping a boob off, chopping a penis off is not a medical intervention that carries some risk. And the ultimate irony in this idiotic statement from her is that even aspirin has a risk. The reason why they took hydroxychloroquine off the market and ivermectin was because of the risks. There were two. Aspirin is more dangerous than ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, but somehow that's safe enough to publicly administer. But the idea of double mastectomies and puberty blockers is a medical treatment that bears risks. It's mutilation, period.
Yeah, the argument also doesn't work because the balance of risk is essentially a policy argument at the end of the day. Could a state, in principle, ban aspirin? Yes. And I'm like, they could, because there is some risk versus the benefit. And so then it just becomes a risk-benefit calculation, which is rational basis. And so now it's just up to the legislature to decide, is it worth it or not?
Yeah, I think banning aspirin may be a bad example because you run up against the Commerce Clause too, interstate commerce. But I do think about just regular medical treatments, because that was the bigger issue with abortion, right? Could a particular state ban abortion? So, but I think we talk about medical treatments. I think you can harmonize that to a state where aspirin is something that you.
I think I'm going to upset a lot of people with my thoughts about the attacks that Sotomayor has gotten over this particular argument. And I will remind you all that today, December 6th, the Supreme Court is deciding whether or not they want to take my case.
Oh, okay.
But I will.
She's the wisest.
She's looking very smart and looking awful young and wonderful these days.
Yeah, so I'll just throw that out there. But I will point this out as far as being intellectually honest here. Her point, a lot of people have mistaken her point. I think that if you want to give the benefit of the doubt to the argument she's trying to make, so you can say that she's not saying that there are millions of trans kids the way people are interpreting it. She's saying that if you're going to, the logic of your argument would apply to a situation like aspirin, which affects millions of people. And I think a lot of people have taken this to say that, Sotomayor thinks that there are millions of trans kids out there. And that's if you actually think through what she's saying, that's not exactly what she's saying. No, I'm just being fair.
I didn't take it. What made it so painfully stupid is not that I didn't even hear it that way. What made it painfully stupid is her saying that puberty blockers have certain side effects like aspirin. The blocking of the puberty is not a side effect. It's the intended purpose of the drug. And so it's like, well, cutting off your arm has certain side effects like cutting off your arm. And so some people who cut off their arm are going to have their arm cut off. No, the whole point of puberty blockers is not the side effect, is the purpose. And that's what they're talking about.
That's a great that you see, if you were arguing, that would be a great counterpoint.
Yeah. Oh no. Some children have their puberties blocked and their dicks shriveled into nothing that can't ejaculate later on. No, that's the purpose of it. It's not a side effect. 1 in 100 are going to have it. Oh, yeah. 1 in 100. Yeah, if you give aspirin to a kid, they're going to have it. What's that disease called? The chat will know if you're not supposed to give aspirin to children. The potential risk of the proper functioning of the drug is one thing.
I think hemophilia because it makes you blood.
No, it's not.
Reese's disease.
Yes, it's Reese's disease.
Yeah.
So I mean, if this is not a side effect, it's the purpose.
That's the perfect count.